Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of The Pulse. We're coming to you live from our studios here at Kokomlimli. We're live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 125 and around the world on myjoyonline.com. Coming up, 28 Chinese nationals and 3 Ghanaian nationals arrested by the rapid response team of the Forestry Commission after foiling an attempt to carry out illegal mining in the Apamprama Forest Reserve in the Ashanti region. Also coming up, we have details of that. We'll take you live to the community this afternoon. And Chairman of Parliament Economy and Development Committee, Eric Afful, takes on both minority and the IMF over the $214 million reserve a loss report, insisting the amount is a transactional cost, not a loss.
The MPP is jumping before the gun. I'm saying confident that the $214 million cannot be described as you speak today as losses.
Are you then disputing the fact put out by the IMF?
Yes.
Well, we have details, plus hear the position of an economist on the matter. Also, Ghana's roads have turned deadlier in 2025, with crashes claiming thousands of lives and leaving many more permanently injured between January and November.
Rails break, they often fall into the middle of the road, creating serious danger. Heavy trucks often burst their tires, and the exposed rims further damage the road surface. This affects the vehicles as well.
We'll bring you the data and hear from some road users as broken guardrails and falling potholes turn Accra-Tema highway into an accident risk zone. Also, amidst the 2025 JoyNews jam, here's what went down as we gear up for the 2026 edition this Friday.
I see your packages.
Yeah, man.
Back to the game.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. You used to dance to them?
Yeah, a lot.
Well, these and more coming up with me, Mamisi Nyamiche Thompson on the Pulse. As always, is brought to you by Diffendil Cough Expectorant. Diffendil, breathe easy, feel better. Please stay for details. Well, this afternoon, the rapid response team of the Forestry Commission arrested 28 Chinese nationals and 3 Ghanaians after foiling an attempt to carry out illegal mining in the Apamprama Forest Reserve in the Ashanti region. The Forestry Commission says about 50% of the forest reserve has already been degraded. As with previous invasions, the illegal miners were found to have pitched camp in the forest under the pretext that they had been granted permits to undertake a reclamation exercise. The suspects said to have been brought in by a man identified as Al-Hassan were arrested in compartment 17 of the reserve near the Obeng community. 4 erected structures at the site were immobilized. The rapid response team drawn from Bekwai in Karie, Mankranso and Dunkwa also seized a pickup truck and a Fontaine mini truck and a generator. The Forestry Commission says it remains on high alert and is pushing for the prosecution of those arrested to serve as a deterrent to others. Let's now go live to the scene and speak to my colleague Erastus Asare Donko. Erastus, so you've been following this. Tell us how it happened.
So the destruction or the degradation of the Apamprama Forest Reserve has been rooted in under the guise of reclamation for a very long time. Remember that late in 2018, the late Sir John also said that they were doing reclamation in the forest. And that was the beginning of the destruction of that particular forest. Currently, as we speak, 50% of that forest has been degraded. In fact, about half of Kumasi we are talking about. Now, the remaining of the forest, that is where these people have pitched camp and they were about to engage in some activities in that area. They claim that they've been given a license to mine illegally, but the Forestry Commission has received no such license or permit from anybody, because if you want to do reclamation, it passes through a certain process, which finds the Forestry Commission at the center of it, but they have not received any notice to that effect. And that is why they went in there to arrest them, confiscate their items, and burn their structures at the moment. So 28 Chinese nationals were found on site, and 3 of them were Ghanaians. So 31 in all, 3 Ghanaians, 28 Chinese, and they have been able to seize a pickup, 2 pickups so far, and other equipment they have destroyed to that effect.
Erastus, do we know how long these people were in the forest before the operations were noticed? So
the Forestry Commission says this time around they will not allow them to set up and begin operations before they stop them. And so they've been there for, I think, about 3 days, and they have erected their makeshift apartments. They have erected other structures that they are going to start operations. So they were going to bring in the heavy equipment, the excavators and the bulldozers to start their operation. But the Forestry Commission decided that they would not allow them to start operations before they stop them. So they moved in to arrest them. Currently, as we speak, they are bringing them over to Accra for further investigations, but they are trying to tell the police that this time around they should investigate and prosecute them to serve as a deterrent to others. Let me add that the only part of the Apamprama Forest Reserve that has seen some reclamation is about 10 hectares, close to the Binenebin area where these Chinese were found. And that was done by Better Land Services under the Forestry Commission. They have been able to reclaim 10 hectares on a pilot basis. So it is surprising that the company that did the pilot reclamation is not the same company that is being asked to do the total reclamation, but another Chinese company under the guise of reclamation to go in there and mine.
Well, knowing that these Chinese nationals have been arrested, and this is not the first time, in fact, many of these arrests have involved Chinese nationals. How is the Forestry Commission protecting the forest, especially the Apamprama Forest, now knowing what these people have been attempting to do?
I must say that the Forestry Commission has done very, very well in protecting the Apamprama Forest Reserve after 50% of it was degraded. Recently, the Bekwai division has been very, very much alert. In fact, they have banned some excavators in the past months, and they remain high alert. And as soon as they hear of any invasion, they move in to arrest the people. And so I must commend the Forestry Commission for that vigilance. And they continue to say that they are on high alert in that part of the forest. They will not allow the remaining of the reserve to go destroyed as the 50% that has already been destroyed. And already they are looking for people or looking for funds to reclaim the thousands of hectares that have been destroyed. And so they will not allow anybody else to continue to degrade the remaining of the forest to add up to the death stock that they have already incurred.
Well, was this operation in connection with NAIMOS? Because we know they're the umbrella body for tracking down these illegal miners.
Well, the Forestry Commission has a mandate to protect the forest. So the initial mandate goes to the Forestry Commission. That is why they have set up rapid response teams. This particular team was made up of personnel from Dunkwao, Mankranso, Bekwai, and other areas. They put them together to go in there to arrest them. And so I must say that they have the mandate to protect the forest reserves. And NAIMOS is equally mandated to also fight illegal mining. So this was not in conjunction with the NAIMOS, but the normal mandate of the Forestry Commission to quell any invasion of forest reserves, especially within the Bekwai municipality.
Well, I know that this set of suspects are being transported here to Accra, but you've also followed up some of these arrests over the period. Do we know how many have so far been arrested? What has become of that arrest? Have they been prosecuted? Do we know anything?
In fact, Mamiesi, that is the problem with many of these arrests. We have seen NAIMOS itself arrest quite a number of Chinese nationals this year alone. The IGP's task force arrested quite a number of them. They are in the hundreds. So there have been quite a number of arrests made. The problem now is with what is done to these people once they have been arrested. That is not where we are not getting much information on. We had the Interior Ministry talk about deportations. So far, we do not know how many of them have been deported, how many of them have been prosecuted so far. That data should come from the various security agencies to tell us how many of them they have prosecuted, what happens to them when they are arrested. So we are keenly following this one to see what will happen to the 28 who have been arrested so far and be able to inform our listeners and viewers going forward.
Well, also of importance is the equipment that are, seized. Currently, where are they? Are they, destroyed as usual, or they are also, seized and other action taken on it?
Well, we know that over 100 excavators were seized from in and around Samreboy in the Western region by the IGP's task force and NAIMOS. So far, over 100 of them are parked at Samreboy in the premises of the former Accra-Tema Mining Limited, and others have also been parked at the depot in Kumasi as well. And so we know that they are still parked, especially the one in Samreboy. They are still parked over
Francis,
there.
are you all right there? Should I give you a minute? You're okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
That's fine.
So the ones at the Kumasi depot are still parked there. We understand recently some of them were released, upon whose orders we are still investigating. The one at Samreboy, they are still parked there. Some of them, I think about 5 of them were released. We are still investigating who gave those orders for them to be released. So, so far, we are talking about hundreds of excavators, some of them parked in Kumasi at the Forestry Commission depot, and their cases are still in court. They are yet to be handed over properly to the custody of government to decide what to do with them. Some are parked in Samreboy as we speak, and some at the police depot in Kumasi as well. We are still monitoring to find out what will happen to these equipment, but we understand some of them have been released. We are still following to find out on whose orders and for what purpose they have been released.
Well, Erastus, you've been doing this work for so many years now. I think it's even quite right to call you an expert in this field, but really, do you think that this war against illegal mining is being won?
We can do better. We have done some work, but we can do better. And I always keep saying that we seem to go some few steps forward, and then sometimes we come some few steps backwards as well. There should be a proper strategy going forward with this. And one of them is to fully equip the Forestry Commission. In fact, we can even upgrade them to a paramilitary status. That is what we should be doing, because they have been clothed with a mandate to protect forest reserves. If we are able to set them up properly, move them or upgrade them into a paramilitary status, get them the needed ammunition and arms to be able to fight illegal miners from the ground, it will help greatly. In fact, it will be about 60%, to solve 60% of the problem with the invasion of forest reserves. Then we will also have to fully resource the NAIMOS. Currently, they have gotten some resources, but they still need pickups, they still need equipment, they need more men on the ground. We have to divide the country into regional blocks. So every region must have a permanent task force based there. For example, the Western region can have a permanent task force based at the edge of the Samreboy enclave, where we have quite a number of these forest reserves situated, so that going forward, we will be able to fall on them and we'll be able to protect the forest resource. Another area is the mining on water bodies, mining along water bodies. We're talking about Ankobra, the Pra, the Brim. That one has not stopped. How do we, going forward, make sure that we have a permanent solution to that? To make sure that we have these areas demarcated as red zones, and then we have a permanent job for the security agencies to be able to drive out people from these areas. Then the licensing regime, for example, should also be streamlined in such a manner that people who have money and will be able to do the mining properly, sustainably, will get a license easily and be able to go into it to employ more people to do that. Aside that, the alternative livelihood empowerment programs that the government promised will have to be streamlined very well to make sure that various people who have money and who want to go into community initiatives will do it better. Last but not the least is the Minerals Commission. In fact, I see the Minerals Commission building mansions across regions. In Kumasi, they have built this mansion, but mansions do not stop Galamseyers. But if we are able to make the institution more formidable than it is currently, so that they will be able to police and inspect, supervise the licenses that they themselves have issued out. That is the way forward. And until we are able to put these things permanently in place, then we'll be going back and forth like we are doing. But I have a strong belief that we can win this war if we have the political will, and we must.
Erastus, thank you so much for that. I mean, Erastus Asari Donko, my colleague there, following up on this arrest of Chinese nationals as well as Ghanaians who are involved in illegal mining. And thankfully, we also have with us Dr. Ken Ashibe, and he's been campaigning, actively against illegal mining. Dr. Ashibe, we're grateful for your time on the Pulse. Oh, unfortunately, we lost him, but we'll get him right back. Now, the National Anti-Illegal Mining Operations Secretariat has intensified its nationwide crackdown on illegal mining. In the eastern region, 5 Chinese nationals were arrested at Achimoda for mining along the Birim River with 2 excavators immobilized and vehicles seized. In the western and western north regions, task force raided sites at Hiawa, destroying equipment and makeshift structures. The Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources said new programs to reclaim degraded lands and restore polluted water bodies will begin in 2026. The ministry's media relations officer, Pakwesi Shandov, says the permanent deployment of military officers to Galamsey hotspots will strengthen the fight next year.
One of the major things that the good people of Ghana should expect when it comes to the fight against illegal mining is the permanent deployment of military personnel to all the relevant flashpoints where illegal mining festers.
What does permanent mean? What would permanent look like in its sense of permanent?
Basically, think of it as a 24/7 uninterrupted surveillance across all the relevant flashpoints. Yes, there are 16 administrative regions in the country, but in our estimation and analysis, 6 of them are very endemic or more prominent where illegal mining is concerned. Effectively, you are looking at the central region, the eastern, the Ashanti, the western north, and then some parts of the upper enclaves of the country. These are the areas that we designate as the flashpoints. What we are doing in all of these 6 regions is to deploy military personnel there permanently. They're going to serve as, if you like, in ordinary terms, watchmen, watchdogs. They are not moving from the post. What NAIMOS does now is that it operates based on giving intelligence. So if you supply intelligence to NAIMOS, then it will swoop and then move into action. But as and when there is no endeavor to be embarked on, NAIMOS doesn't move. But effective next year, what is going to happen is that the stationing will be more permanent. So if you take any area, you can think of any area where Galamsey is very prominent, you're going to have military personnel fully deployed there. And that, we believe strongly, will give us results that we have not been able to chalk in this particular year. Indeed, this is not the first time we are making mention of this, except that to be able to effectualize it, we needed the necessary financial clearance from the Finance Ministry. Thankfully, that has been given. And so that full-scale deployment is one of the measures that clearly is going to ensure that we win more where the fight against illegal mining is concerned. I'm just summarizing. Of course, there's a raft of interventions that will roll out in next year. Another thing that we want to do is the land reclamation. Of course, all of these parcels of land that we see looking ugly and very sour would have to return to their pristine nature. That would require a lot of money, actually. But there is a program that government has designed which will be deployed perhaps by the first quarter of next year in full scale, so that we start recovering the lands that we have lost to the menace of illegal mining. Then again, there's also a program for, as it were, helping the polluted waters to also regain their pristine nature. Because yes, this is not the ordinary color of the rivers. Last week, for example, I was in the Western region, passed around the Ankobra and all of that. The colors that we saw really were not impressive. But is there a plan? Yes, there is one. And so working together with the Water Resources Commission and all the relevant agencies, by the end of the first quarter, we will start rolling out some of those interventions to ensure that what we have done, we are able to even do more in 2026. So basically...
that's a wrap of how 2026 will be.
Absolutely.
Well, joining me on Zoom now is member of the Media Coalition Against Galamsey, Engineer Kenneth Ashigbe. We're grateful for your time, Mr. Ashigbe. So, in spite of efforts of NAIMOS, the issue of Galamsey persists. Just today, we're hearing 28 Chinese nationals have been arrested, plus some Ghanaians as well, in the Apamprama Forest. Do you think that the measures we've deployed so far in fighting Galamsey is effective enough?
Thank you very much. So I think Erastus talked about it. If you look at the number of arrests that have been done, and then you look at the fact that there are still excavators still sitting where they are sitting, you know what it means? It just means that prosecutions are not taking place. And that is at the heart of the failure so far as our fight against Galamsey is concerned.
Dr. Ashigbe, can you reposition yourself for me a bit so I can hear you properly?
Can you hear me?
Yes, much better. Yes.
Okay, so I'm saying that the challenge of Galamsey, one of the major issues is the lack of prosecution.
Right.
The fact that several people have been arrested by NAIMOS, several people have been arrested by the Forestry Commission. The fact that you still have a lot of these excavators that have been confiscated that are still sitting there tells you that the prosecution itself has not been successful. So the issue of forfeiture has not happened. If you take the example of the gentleman who was arrested, who is supposed to be a kingpin, he's been bailed, and several of these people. So it is not too difficult, different from the experiences we had in the times of Operation Vanguard, where we had a lot of arrests being done. But when it comes to the issues of prosecution, it's woefully inadequate. So it is important that the Attorney General, the ID who prosecutes on behalf of the Attorney General, the Honorable that also take some to that there some
Mr. Ashigbe, I'm losing you. I'm losing you. I beg you if you could position yourself properly for us, because
I am positioned though.
Yeah. Well, let's try again. Let's try one more time and see, because I was losing you. Yes, I can. I can hear you, but you were going off a bit.
Okay, because of this, I have facts.
Yes, great. Okay. Great.
So I'm saying that apart from the arrest, we need the Chief Justice, the Attorney General, and the IGP to support us. Because the level of prosecution is woefully inadequate. So now most of these criminals, they know that once they embark on these actions, they will be arrested, but nothing will happen. And again, the Interior Minister needs to tell us that policy, that very wrong policy that he brought that was deporting foreigners who are engaged in Galamsey, what has happened to that? Is he still embarking on that? Because that is also retrogressive. It is not helping the fight. Pakwesi also mentioned the fact that there was going to be the station of NAIMOS. When we met His Excellency the President, that promise was given us in this year. And so for me, one of the things I am pained about is that the financial resources that should have been given to NAIMOS, we have not seen that. If we had done that, what NAIMOS is doing, they would do a lot more. And another thing that I would also recommend, it's something that I know that the Forestry Commission board was looking at, making the Forestry Commission guard paramilitary. The same way that when you go into the reserve, the game reserve, you have the game watchers arms and they are in the trail game reserve. We all make sure the forestry guard make sure they have more superior weaponry than these criminals so that they can be stationed permanently, as NAIMOS would also be stationed permanently. The coalition has done some work on the stability of water, and it's not looking good at all. So it just tells us that in terms of the fight, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources, NAIMOS, Forestry Commission, they are doing the work. But unfortunately, we don't seem to be winning the fight. Another major challenge that we have is the politically exposed person. They are still at work. They are still working. And those who are even mentioned for investigation, we've not heard anything about them. Even Accra-Tema, the case, we don't know where that is going. The issues around those who are mentioned by Professor Apamprama, nothing has happened. And we know that in most of these communities where Galamsey is happening, you have DCEs and MCs who are representatives of the president. They should not be waiting for NAIMOS. They should not be waiting for the minister to come from Accra to be able to come and deal with these issues. What are these DCEs and MCs doing? His Excellency the President had talked about giving Galamsey as one of the KPIs. We don't know what has happened. There was this DCE who has been convicted for contempt that is connected to Galamsey. He's still at court. We have not seen him being told to step aside for any investigation to happen. Because he also claimed that the case that was brought to him was brought about by a notorious Galamsey person. So you want to make sure that that case is investigated. If he is not guilty, he should be exonerated and we should deal with this other person he talked about. And if he is the one guilty, he should be dealt with.
So,
but leaving him at court and
Ashigbe,
nothing happens,
so
it's unfortunate.
With the varied examples you've given, the work of NAIMOS that is being done, and your advocacy, I mean, looking at the lack of prosecution, how does that impact, one, on the work that the Anti-Galamsey Task Force is doing, as well as your campaigning?
Well, it is one of the major factors that tend to retract from the particular fight. We saw the former president, His Excellency Nanado, complain about less than 10% prosecutions during this time. We are having the same thing at this particular point. So you see the tendency for that to become a demotivating factor for the men and women who put their lives at risk is major. So you go as NAIMOS, you go and arrest these people, you go as the commission to arrest, they get out, the famous by the they are back again in town, perpetuating the same crime. And so it is important that His Excellency, engages the Chief Justice and also the Attorney General and the IGP so that we deal with the issue of prosecution. Not only should we be dealing with the issue of prosecution, we also should be updating the citizenry. What is it that is happening so far as that is concerned? And so that is definitely one of the things that tends to militate against the advocacy and also against those who are actually fighting this menace.
So then, I know you're also collaborating with security agencies. Do you at least know how many Chinese nationals especially have been arrested so far? and then also Ghanaians as we know it?
Well, again, so you would pull the numbers from what NAIMOS has done and then what is in the public domain. But you see, for this thing to be effective, the ministry, and that's going to be the Ministry of Interior and then the Attorney General's Department, should be the ones updating. So I'll be asking multimedia. I think it's important that we ask this. If they won't give it to us, we might have to issue an RCI to be able to find out actually what is going on. But you see, for me, one KPI that you can look at is what Erastus mentioned. The fact that you still have a lot of these excavators still sitting there. It just tells you that those who are involved in that particular cases, the prosecution has not been successful and very little has happened. And so it is definitely, we know that there's been a lot of arrests that have been done, and that's definitely a feather in the cap of the NAIMOS and all of that. But then, just arresting, it's not an end in itself. And so we will call on His Excellency the President to really do, whatever it takes to ensure that these prosecutions would also have to happen. We know that the Chief Justice and the judiciary, they are also independent, but they need to know that this thing that is happening is putting all of us, our lives at risk. And so they need to ensure that there's some prosecution. The question we would ask is that those community members who attacked the NAIMOS commander with 8 military people, a lot of their faces were captured on tape. What has happened to people like that? Because you see, when we allow them to attack the military and the forces of state, it just emboldens these criminals. And unfortunately, the situations we're dealing with now is not just your issue of Galamsey, it's organized crime. And so we need to deal with it before it deals with us.
Engineer Kenneth Ashigbe, thank you so much for your time on the Pulse. We're grateful for your insights there. Now, the Securities and Exchange Commission has assured the general public and investors of its unwavering commitment to safeguarding Ghana's virtual asset space. The regulator says it remains vigilant in ensuring a safe, efficient, fair and transparent digital asset ecosystem, one that protects investors and upholds market integrity. The assurance is contained in a statement issued by SEC, the body mandated to regulate and promote the development of a credible and transparent securities market in Ghana. Here are excerpts of that statement on your screens. And now it says that the Securities and Exchange Commission, Ghana, hereinafter referred to as the SEC, is mandated to regulate and promote the growth and development of an efficient, fair and transparent securities market in which investors and the integrity of the market are protected. SEC wishes to inform the public and all market operators that Parliament has passed the Virtual Asset Service Providers Bill. The bill outlines the legal and regulatory framework for regulating virtual assets and virtual asset service providers in Ghana. Also, the relevant regulatory authorities are the Bank of Ghana, the Securities and Exchange Commission, and any other regulatory body prescribed by the Minister of Finance. All persons and entities conducting virtual asset activities will need to be licensed or officially registered by the SEC or the Bank of Ghana based on their activity. The SEC and the Bank of Ghana will issue guidelines and other regulatory instruments to operationalize the Act. For the avoidance of doubt, the SEC shall license and regulate the following virtual asset services under the Act. Well, quite a number of them, but we'll go through that later. Well, joining me is the Acting Deputy Director in charge of Finance at the Securities and Exchange Commission. We're grateful for your time. Sir, could you, Mr. Mensa Thompson, first of all, exactly what for education is a virtual asset?
Very much. A very good afternoon to you, Choice viewers, and Merry Christmas to everyone. I think the concept of mobile money typically helps in the explanation of what virtual asset is. So if you don't understand virtual asset, take, for instance, mobile money. mobile money, it's significantly some form of virtual asset. It's basically money or assets sitting in the virtual space that you cannot touch. And so unlike money, which is fiat currency, which is issued by a central bank or a government through an instrument, this virtual asset is also some form of currency or asset, which normally the issuer is not a central bank, but it's sort of decentralized, and people can create their own sort of either currencies or assets based on what they are trying to do. And so in a nutshell, if you want to describe what a virtual asset is basically asset or money that is in the virtual asset, in the virtual space that you cannot touch, unlike fiat currency.
So in this situation where this bill has been passed by Parliament, how does it impact the virtual asset space?
So first off, before the bill was passed, we had to assess Ghana's exposures to the virtual asset space, i.e., the most common type of virtual assets that is used worldwide is the cryptocurrency. Now, we needed to understand what Ghana's true exposures were, and so some assessment was done last year, and we realized that last year alone, about $6 billion worth of crypto transactions happen within the country, in and out of the country. So when I say in and out of the country, that is transactions inwards and transactions outward. That was worth about $6 billion.
Wow.
This year alone, as at November, we crossed the $10 billion mark. And that's extremely significant that you cannot ignore. You cannot ignore. And so it was very clear that the country is overexposed to crypto assets and its usage. Now, the question was whether to ban it completely or to have a legal framework to regulate it so that government can have real-time visibility over its usage and applications so that it can be used properly in a manner that does not affect financial stability. And I think that is what this bill seeks to do. So the government, the Bank of Ghana and the SEC issued a white paper and decided to adopt the latter approach by coming up with a legal and regulatory framework to legalize its usage and application, but put on a framework to guide how it is used and applied, so that it's done properly. And so we spent the last 1 year trying to come up with a law that properly address all the loopholes, the dynamics of the virtual asset. And so if you want to know a bill that have seen extensive consultation, the virtual asset bill is one of the bills, perhaps one of the most consultative bill government has ever passed. And so we developed a bill with a number of stakeholders and market operators, including so the Bank of Ghana and the SEC are the leaders, but we work extensively with the Financial Intelligence Center, the Cybersecurity Authority, the Ministry of Finance, and JRA. The Office of the Attorney General Department was also very instrumental in polishing the bill. And also the Finance Committee of Parliament. They were very, very instrumental. We had to do a pre-laying engagement with them, and they tore the bill into pieces and guide us properly on how to enact a proper legislation that will address all the gaps in the space. And so use this the chairman of the Finance Committee, Honorable the ranking member, Honorable Amin Anta, the former finance minister, was very, very helpful, instrumental in helping us come up with a very polished document. And that's why I realized that the bill received a bipartisan support when it went to the House, because it has seen a lot of already the House and came up with a law that.
So, Mr. Thompson, you keep mentioning loopholes that this bill covers. For education's sake, once again, could you mention at least two instructive ones and how the bill, protects the public?
The key one is visibility. And so the AML and CFT risk that exists in the crypto asset or the virtual asset space. Currently, crypto is happening in the country, whether you like it or not. Government do not have visibility. And so people are using it for all manner of crimes. People are using it to launder all manner of money and resources out of the country, in and out of the country. Recently, you saw that Yoko had made some arrests and some significant bust of crypto assets, through investigations. And so you could see that the potential for abuse in the crypto space is enormous. And so this bill is to regularize the space, KYC and onboarding requirements and the reporting standard for service providers so that, we can have real visibility on the space. Again, because of the exposures that other institutions, especially financial institutions, may also have in the cryptocurrency space, especially the banks and financial institutions, especially in terms of global trade, because internationally now some big companies have crypto assets sitting on their books. Some international suppliers accept cryptocurrency as a medium or as a form of spending.
But we do accept that here?
So now the banks and financial institutions are not allowed to deal in any form of crypto. And that's why the law has been passed to regularize it. So now we're going to have a framework for them to be able to use it, invest in it. Asset managers could have the opportunity to invest in crypto. You find it issue virtual asset-backed securities. Also,
responding to this, really, what are they saying?
Well, it's been enormous, especially the international community changes, and they. The widespread usage of cryptocurrency. A lot of them are very much comfortable if there is a regulatory framework in place to guide the usage and application of virtual assets. They are going into countries with clear proper guidelines on virtual asset usage. And so once we legalize it, they are excited. And let me say that the president has also signed a bill into law, so now it's an act of parliament. The SEC and the Bank of Ghana are working to issue guidelines on how to operationalize the act very, very soon. And we are in constant touch with the market operators. And a lot of them are willing to come under regulation because it makes their work easier, and because of visibility and reporting standards, it creates a lot of harmonious environment for them to operate their business in a fair and profitable manner. And so they are happy and excited about it. And we've seen a lot of interest coming from various aspects of the market.
Well, earlier you mentioned that at least transactions, went as high as $10 million in the space of tax or taxing. How is Ghana benefiting in this medium of trade?
So you remember when I mentioned the agencies we work with, I mentioned the GRA. So GRA have been seriously involved. There is going to be capital gain tax on the trades. And so when people invest in crypto assets and they make gains, there are going to be taxable aspect of the.
What is the anticipation? How much is Ghana expected to gain from this? And some, estimation of how much we're going to earn?
Well, I cannot readily say, but if you even use the $10 billion, that transaction that happened, and that these are the traceable ones, currently without the infrastructure that we have, in the space of 1 year, assuming if government is even getting 1% of it as tax a year, that's a lot of money.
Right.
But we are GRA need to come up with a tax regime for us to apply in this. We don't have jurisdiction over the taxes, and so that has to be set by GRA. But we know that there are the there's a mechanism for capital gain tax to be charged on the trade. DRA will have to tell us what that capital gain tax would be and how it's supposed to be charged on the transactions, and that will be applied in the guidelines.
And just before you go, how easy will it be to identify those who are supposed to, be taxed?
It's simple technology. So the technology that will be deployed will have real-time visibility over all crypto transactions in the country across board. Once you are within the borders of this country, the system will pick it up and will be able to withhold the taxes through that. The system will allow us to be able to freeze, halt, block transactions and what have you. And so tax evasion will be a thing of the past. You can't evade tax because of the visibility we'll have in the crypto space. And so, GRA should rest assured their taxes will be properly collected, especially when people make gains through the investment in virtual assets.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mensah Thompson. He's Deputy Director General, SEC, and he's been talking to us about virtual assets. You're still watching The Pulse on the JoyNews channel. We'll be right back after this break. Welcome back to The Pulse. Now, the Kumasi Metropolitan Assembly is planning a major cleanup campaign to clear filth from key residential and industrial areas of the city. Metro Chief Executive Richard Ofori-Agyemang says the exercise will target the Asokwa and Ishaisu areas to restore their serenity and beauty. Despite public backlash in his first year in office, the mayor says the assembly will enforce stricter sanitation measures to restore Kumasi's status as the garden city of Ghana and West Africa. He made the remarks on the sidelines of the Ashanti Regional Ghana Hotels Association ceremony in Kumasi.
26, I'm going to spend a lot more energy to make sure that we have a much cleaner Kumasi than what we experienced in 2025. If we were tough on the streets in 2025, we're going to be tougher in 2026. If we got rid of people, who were at places that are unacceptable in 2025, what it means is that we're going to increase our activities in 2026. Beginning in January, we're going to start with Asokwa. We're going to start in Asokwa. We're going to make sure that the whole of Asokwa is clean. I'll lead that effort. And once we clean Asokwa and you have a house in Asokwa, beyond that, if we come and we see that your area is not kept well, we'll deal with you. We'll move from Asokwa. When we are done with Asokwa in January, in February, we're going to move to Ishaisu. We must expect to have cantonments, areas that look like cantonments in Kumasi. Areas that look like East Legon in Kumasi. Our city cannot be the old Kumasi, dirty and unkempt. So we'll spend a lot more energy in 2026 towards having a much cleaner city. These are supposed to be our affluent neighborhoods. And if you are going towards the Stadium Hotel in Asokwa, before you get to Sitakel, you will see some pile-up refuse on the left. It's very bad. And so in January, that's what we're going to begin our work with. You understand? We're going to begin our work at sanitizing and cleaning Kumasi from Asokwa. These are affluent areas. So once we clean the area, then those of you who live there must not get it into the state at which we came to clean. And then from Asokwa, we'll move to Ishaisu. From Ishaisu, we'll move to Denyame. We'll make sure that the affluent neighborhoods are kept clean. And then anybody that comes to Kumasi and gets into those neighborhoods will see that this city is really ready to attract investment.
Well, joining us on phone is the Kumasi Mayor, Richard Ofori-Agyemang. We're grateful for joining us this afternoon. I mean, this initiative you're talking is very great, but if you talk about cleaning, is that the only key to making the likes of or imitating the likes of East Legon and cantonments in Kumasi?
Obviously, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
For a fact, Kumasi is the second largest city in the country, and indeed, it's Ghana's commercial hub. On daily basis, we have people who come from all manner of places within the West African sub-region to Kumasi to transact various kinds of business. They come from Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, and around some from even the Gambia. So it is important that we create the kind of image that will sell Ghana and, for that matter, Kumasi positively to the outside world. And one thing that we must focus on is that the sanitation situation, as we have in Kumasi, is not one that we can pride ourselves with. So it is important that we make a conscious effort at improving our sanitation and creating the right environment for us to attract the needed investment and business so we can create employment for our teeming young men and women.
So this cleaning exercise, I mean, is it a communal one, or the assembly is taking up the cost of ensuring this is done? How much really is it even going to cost the assembly?
The assembly is going to take up that responsibility on our own. What we intend to do is that affluent neighborhoods, Asokwa, Ishaiso, Denyame, and those areas must be kept such that anybody that goes to that particular, any of these neighborhoods will see that, yes, I've entered into a middle class residential area and the environment is that it befits standard. And so it's responsibility. It makes that we have a claim. We'll take it up upon ourselves. So from the 15th of January, we're going to begin with Asokwa. We'll make sure that everywhere we have heaps of waste, everywhere that is not kept properly in that area, we'll spend the rest of January in that area. We're going to be relying so much on inmates of the Kumasi Central Prisons and some environmental staff of the assembly, and then we'll spend a lot of time there. When we are done with Asokwa, they'll move to Inshires. We'll also look at the area and make sure that we keep the area clean. And then officers of the parks and gardens are also going to be with us with machinery, so that where we have to cut lawns and grasses in those neighborhoods, we do that. And once we're able to do that, then the residents will be checked such that such tendencies will not be okay.
How much is it costing the assembly to undertake this project?
For each prisoner that we are going to use, we use 5 gangs on daily basis. Each gang costs us 270 cedis from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Each gang.
How are you going to sustain this, knowing very well that maintenance culture in this country is very poor? How are you going to ensure this is sustained?
That's what I'm saying, that once we clean the environment, then we will take those who leave their task if a way emerges.
Right. Well, what I also want to understand, this season so far, how's the celebration in Kumasi been like in terms of security as well?
For a very long time. This is 1 year that Kumasi has seen glimpses of Christmas in real time. I saw people having a lot of fun. I saw a lot of businesses win, and I take the coverage that the government has put up, that is created in space for us to enjoy this Christmas. And so Kumasi has had its best of the celebrations, and I'm excited that I saw the citizens partake in Christmas activities with a lot of joy, some with pop pepper gently.
If you could reposition yourself for me and so that we can hear you properly, but what I also like to know is this cleaning exercise being extended to areas like the Kejetia market and the other markets in Kumasi?
Okay. So with Kejetia, we do that on a daily basis. We have been working in Kejetia since when I became mayor in April. We have been working on daily. But Kejetia situation where we have a hand, it's firm when we are construct that market, because daily we have about 10,000 selling, and think your well says and so on. Even when are done.
Mr. Bodi, I would like to ask you one more time. Kindly reposition yourself. I know you're...
Are you okay now?
Yes. Is it
better?
It's better.
Okay, so I'm saying that the Kejetia situation is such that because of the number of hawkers and traders that we have on the pavement, it is given us a tough one. but we are always every now and then on the ground working. And so we'll increase our activities and on some markets that are under construction and make sure that they are completed on time, just so we can move a chunk of the people who are selling on the paper, because the activity is such that they are selling from boxes. When they take their wares and put us on the box, they leave them by the roadside. And so sometimes you come and you look at it that we have not done anything on the road the whole day. And so we are trying to, as much as possible, speed up some construction work that is going on in some markets, just so we can move all the people on the pavement to markets, and then we can have the place without any bleeding activity. And so we have our eyes on sanitation in the central business district. There's one area that is going to have a lot of our energy in 2026.
Right. And so also you talk about being tougher in instilling, cleanliness in these communities. If you talk about being tougher, what do you mean?
My attitude towards keeping discipline is now known to Kumasi. I engage. I tell you what I want to experience, what I want to see, what I want to feel. I give time. And when the time is up for us to do something, we have. And to that end, there are a lot of areas that we cover with more effort, picture of that free Kumasi. We have it. Sanitation in the Kumasi metropolitan areas with quite private. We're going to stop by extending some to some areas that we provide to actually means increase the flow out. At the end, come to that perspective. Yeah.
Very poor network there, and you just had there Mr. Richard Ofurajima-Bodi on the phone lines with us. But still in Kumasi Central Prison has held its maiden runway fashion show for inmates, an initiative to promote creativity and self-expression among prisoners. The event thrilled the prison yard with excitement as the maxed model inmates confidently modeled in style in professionally made local and continental outfits and garments, mostly produced by the prisoners.
Crowd audience graced the maiden inmate runway fashion show at the Kumasi Central Prison, experiencing an impressive runway, first of its kind at the corridors of the prison. Dressed in traditional kente, batik and tie-dye designs, smocks as well as contemporary casual and formal wear, the inmates demonstrated exceptional craftsmanship and creativity. The officer in charge of the Kumasi Central Prison, DDP James B. Amumyele, indicated the fashion show aligns with the Think Prisons 360 Degrees initiative and its creative arts policy, aimed to highlight the correctional role of the prison service.
The Director General of Prisons has launched the Think Prison 360 Degrees initiative, which is the transformational agenda of the Ghana Prison Service. So this event ties in very well. Talking about advocacy, rebranding, and the other pillars. And as a command, as a station, we are looking at beyond this, so that inmates who really have the talent and are interested will continue to offer the opportunity to groom them.
Officer in charge of the Kumasi Female Prison, CSP Florence Ekia Asabia Taylor, commended the inmate for the talent and admonished the public to eschew stigma that surpasses the positive role ex-convict can play for society.
I believe that trainings like this or programs like this, it really motivates them to be able to give in their best, to put in their best in learning the impression that is being created by society, that these people are criminals, and for that matter, they cannot, nothing good can come out of them, will be reduced.
The event was creatively directed by Assistant Superintendent of Prisons Rashid K. Enin, with most of the garments designed and sewn by the inmates themselves as part of ongoing vocational training programs. The fashion show formed the grand finale of the Inmate Fanfare 2025, which commenced on 22nd December and featured a series of recreational and empowerment activities. DSP Rose Ampofua Cheneboakodia appreciated the coordinated efforts of sponsors and called for investment into recreational efforts of the prison service.
Times are changing, things are changing. Imprisonment shouldn't be punitive. It should reform, and then when they come into the society, they can reintegrate better with us, and we all live in harmony. From various individuals and organizations, Dyson Foundation, UniJ Collections, Abyss Plaza, Tony Sack, a whole lot of people who came on board, Saladin, Rash Taylor, designers who came on board to support this initiative. So we sent letters. They also grasped the idea and they decided to come on board to support us. So that is the beautiful thing we've seen today.
Fashion designers who coached the inmates for the event explained the potentials that could be unraveled among prisoners. Clinton Yabua's report read to you.
Chairman of the Economy and Development Committee in Parliament, Eric Afful, has taken on the minority and the International Monetary Fund over the $214 million Gold for Reserve loss report. This was captured in the IMF latest review, which indicated that the Bank of Ghana has lost $214 million in its first year in the Gold for Oil Reserve program implemented through the Ghana Gold Board. This figure is being disputed by the Gold Board CEO, Sami Jenfi, and the majority. We'll hear from the chairman of the Economy Committee shortly. First, listen to the minority who called for a bipartisan probe into the report.
The IMF has already mentioned that $214 million worth of trading losses have been occasioned in the first 9 months of this year. As a caucus, when we run our numbers, we can project that it's going to get to about $300 million by the end of this year. $214 million in losses under the Gold for Reserve scheme is just 9 months. Sadly, without the technical competence required to operate this complex structure that they wanted to do, we are saddled with $214 million debt, now moving towards 300. And it doesn't matter whether they tell you it's not Gold Board loss, it's Bank of Ghana loss, or it's Bank of Ghana loss, it's not Gold Board. At the end of the day, the Ghanaian taxpayer is the one who has to pay. And so as a minority, on behalf of the people of Ghana, we are demanding the following: a bipartisan parliamentary inquiry into the circumstances under which the Republic of Ghana has lost $214 million, heading to $300 million.
Well, the CEO of Gold Board, Sami Jenfi, however, in a Facebook post, said the amount cannot be described as a loss since the company's books have yet to be audited. His position is shared by Chairman of the Economy Committee, Eric Afful, who disputed the IMF report and called out the minority over their call for a bipartisan probe.
The MPP is jumping before the gun. I'm saying confident that the $214 million cannot be described as we speak today as losses. Cannot be described as losses. It is a cost. It is a transactional cost to the Gold Board. So I really don't see this one as something which is a loss, but it's a cost, transactional. The reason is, as we speak today, the Gold Board itself has not come out with its financials to know its total transactions, what came about it, and what they've done so far. So this is just an information, which to us is a cost. But
are you then disputing the fact put out by the IMF?
Yes, simply because, as I speak today, as a chairman for the Economy and Development Committee of Ghana's Parliament, which we subpetend before the Bank of Ghana, subpetend before the Gold Board, we've not seen the financial. So when we come out and declare that Gold Board is in losses of this, which document am I using to prove it?
Economist at the University of Ghana Business School, Professor Patrick Isuming, has questioned attempts by state institutions to downplay the IMF assessment that Ghana recorded that loss, now insisting that government must accept the loss in good faith.
Well, I think the IMF was absolutely clear what the $214 million is. And they said it's a loss. And, it's important to understand that the IMF doesn't make up this information. It is the government of Ghana that reports this information to the IMF. So in some sense, I think the reaction coming from the Gold Board and the BOJ is somewhat surprising to me. This is information that the government of Ghana has reported to the IMF. The government of Ghana would have been aware that this information is going to be published. So to turn around and try and recategorize whether it is a loss or whether it is on the Gold Board or it is a loss. I think the IMF concern is that the loss should not be on the books of the central bank because it affects its operational capacity. And I think that's what it's saying. The IMF is not saying the program should be stopped. And the idea that we have to wait for the Gold Board to report or to audit its annual report before we say it's a loss, I think that's absolutely not founded. In the IMF program that we are on, some information are reported monthly, some are reported quarterly, some are reported half yearly, some are reported yearly. So if you have reported this information and the IMF is giving an analysis of that, I don't think that the reaction should be to push back or try to deny what we, the government of Ghana, has reported. I think what we should do is that, yes, the domestic gold purchase program is bringing us reserves and serving some purpose. They are just flagging that these costs should not be pushed on the central bank. I think we should just accept it in good faith and find ways to minimize the loss. In terms of what the source of the loss is, it is clear in the IMF statement. Part of it is trading losses. Yeah. Trading losses will mean that the price that we are paying the artisanal and small-scale gold miners is higher than the price that the central bank will sell the gold and receive.
The Accra-Tema highway is posing a growing danger to motorists and commuters due to multiple safety hazards along the stretch. Broken guardrails, huge rocks and falling streetlight poles remain unattended, increasing the risk of avoidable accidents. Drivers who spoke to JoyNews expressed concern about the exposed sections of the road, warning that the damaged guardrails leave road users vulnerable. They are calling on the Roads and Highways Authority to act swiftly to fix the hazards and restore safety on the highway. Angela Santua Amwako has more on this report.
For the regular motoring public commuting on the Accra-Tema highway, each journey is more than a routine. It is a calculated risk. From broken guardrails to malfunctioning street lights, motorists must navigate a corridor riddled with hazards every single day. Though no official data exists on the number of lives lost directly as a result of these dangers along the stretch, national statistics paint a grim picture. More than 1,504 deaths have been recorded this year from 7,289 road crashes nationwide. Speaking to JoyNews, a driver, Ebenezer Amwako, said the broken guardrails on the highway pose a significant threat, especially at night. He called on authorities to fix them as a matter of urgency.
Broken road rails pose a serious danger to drivers. Sudden braking and overtaking around these damaged rails can easily lead to accidents. I therefore urge the authorities to address this issue as a matter of urgency.
Another commercial driver, George Sebe, described the state of the guardrails as an accident waiting to happen. He added that the damaged and crooked rails have become targets for scrap dealers. He urged government to replace all broken guardrails on the highway.
When road rails break, they often fall into the middle of the road, creating serious danger, especially in the evenings when streetlights are not functioning. These damaged rails cause numerous accidents, and when they become crooked, scrap dealers exploit the situation by stealing them. I want the government to urgently fix damaged road rails to ensure driver safety.
Adding his voice, another commercial driver, Benjamin Kwesi Nyameche, said numerous potholes on the stretch force drivers into sudden maneuvers, increasing the risk of crashes.
The main road is riddled with potholes. Heavy trucks often burst their tires, and the exposed rims further damage the road surface. This affects the vehicles as well. leading to severe accidents and in some cases crashes into guardrails. I therefore appeal to the Minister for Roads to come to our aid.
Meanwhile, the Roads and Highway Authority say steps are being taken to address the concerns. Roland Ampiani, mentor of the Ghana Highway Authority, outlined ongoing maintenance work aimed at improving safety on the highway.
Management gave us the permission to come and maintain and work on it. And what we did, we've broken a section of the concrete, and the exposed corroded reinforcements that were exposed have been cut off, which will be replaced. Then later a new concrete will be casted to get back the retaining wall in its right shape.
Let's now listen to the Director General of the National Road Safety Authority, Abraham Amaliba. He spoke on News Desk.
Overspeeding is one. Then you have non-compliance with road regulations is another. The third one could be attributed to the fact that these motorists or the drivers have not been given any training whilst they ply their trade. So these are the three causes I can readily mention. I'm happy to announce that at least during the Yuletide, especially 24th, 25th, 26th, we've not heard of any major accident as compared to the previous years. That for me is a good thing. Before the period of the Yuletide, we had partnered some institutions like Bloomberg to do some education, and your reporter was there. We have also partnered Zane. What we have not been able to do is to roll out a massive campaign, and this was because of lack of funding. But I'm happy to announce to you that beginning January, the road fund, which is now called Road Maintenance Trust Fund, will release some monies to us for us to engage on massive campaign. We are currently working with the Ministry of Health, and you are talking about improved data. So we are working on Ministry of Health, the hospitals. We are also working with the police MTTD so that we can synchronize and harmonize our data. The three institutions must speak with one voice. You shouldn't go to the hospitals and they will give you a figure which is different from what MTTD and National Road Safety have. So there is this harmonization. World Bank was providing assistance for that. But the three institutions are working together to ensure that we'll provide and turn out road safety data statistics which can be used and can be relied upon.
Management of the police hospital is appealing to members of the public with missing relatives to visit the facility for possible identification. The hospital says it currently has several patients classified as unknown persons, individuals brought in by the police during emergencies without any family member or identifying information. There's more in the following report.
Management of the police hospital says some patients have remained at the facility for several years after receiving medical care because their relatives could not be identified or traced. This situation, they explain, has placed significant pressure on the emergency care unit, limiting its capacity to admit new patients. The medical director of the police hospital, COP Dr. Samuel Otunyako, laments that such cases are recorded almost daily.
Yes, it can accommodate 11 persons. Yes, 6 in the main block and then another 5 at the back, the big space that we saw.
And the number of unknown persons in your care, how many are they and how worrying is it for you?
Well, it varies. At times it can come as low as 3. That is when we are able to now contact their relatives, or people come here to look for them and they find that these are their relatives and they take them away. But at times it can go as far as 12. So that not per day, but at a particular moment, yes. So we've had, like my nurse said, people who have stayed here actually for 2 years. We are not getting their relatives, nothing. And they are here, they are mentally deranged. You can't send them on the streets. So these are people that we are using hospital resources to feed, to clothe, and to medicate.
Meanwhile, a pathologist at the hospital, ACP Osei Owusu-Friye, is appealing to families with missing relatives to visit the facility to ascertain whether their loved ones may be among the unidentified patients.
Even though the process is to discharge them, you have to find, where to take them back to. Sometimes it's been difficult. Sometimes we have people, once the announcement goes on, we have people who've come in, identify their relatives, and then they take them back. But we still have some people, even though they are discharged from their illnesses, are still here with us.
A philanthropist, Seydou Agongo, who funded the construction of the U-Ward at the hospital, has urged other business leaders to support non-profit institutions, particularly those within the security services.
We have a country to build. Ghana is all that we have. So we should do our best to support. Supporting means that, like the police services, for instance, supporting them doesn't take anything. Trust me, I have never felt I've lost something in supporting. In fact, it even multiplies. So I'll just urge my fellow businessmen that let's try and support and let's try to do genuine businesses and genuine work, because the money we are looking for, we want to build generational wealth, which we have no control. It's what you do today that can help. And it's by supporting police services, the military, and other non-profit making organization. That's the only way that you can become the best of yourself. Okay.
Meanwhile, the leadership of the Ghana Police Service says it remains committed to mobilizing resources to enhance operations at the police hospital. Reporting for JoyNews, my name is Gemma Apia.
Scores of people are converging at the Accra Sports Stadium this afternoon to observe the traditional crossover into the new year. With less than 30 hours to the close of the year, the venue is gradually filling up with worshippers, families and groups from across the country for the annual Watch Night service. The service is expected to feature spirited music, prayers and prophetic declarations as participants reflect on the outgoing year and ushering in the new one. Many of them who spoke to JoyNews said they've gathered in anticipation of renewal, thanksgiving and renewed hope for better days.
So what are your expectations for today and going into crossover tomorrow?
Okay, my expectation is that God should rain His blessings and His favor upon us. We shouldn't be the same as we came here. In Jesus' name, amen.
So what time did you get here today?
I got here around 8:30.
Where from?
I'm from Kaswa.
So what are your expectations going into the new year?
Well, my expectation is that God should visit all our parents in a special way. And this new year, we wish everyone that what everyone is expecting should come to pass. Today we are going to worship God in a special way, so you will visit us in a special way.
Today.
Very good. We are feeling very good. You can see everybody celebrating. It's about Christ, It's about Christ.
And what are your expectations for today?
Yeah, today we are waiting for the man of God. Today is going to be a great day. It's just going to be miracles upon miracles, signs and wonders. So everybody's here. I'm here with my expectation. And before I will leave here, I'm going with my expectation. What am I expecting?
We are feeling happy because yahu say nyame wa ha obi a omba ye bia o se oba ha efisa ha ye sports stadium enija ba ha enti obi amria
crossing over into the new year. What are your expectations?
A lot. This year I'm expecting God to do a lot for me. That's why I'm here. In fact, I will even sleep here to the next day. So I'm expecting a lot. This year, blessings, long life and prosperity for all Ghanaians and across the world.
I'm expecting to hear God more and to have a seeing eye.
We came to praise God, to worship God with everything we have, our body, our minds and our souls, everything we have.
Well, organizers say preparations are far advanced to ensure a smooth and orderly program. They've also assured participants of adequate security and strict measures to protect the stadium's pitch, addressing concerns raised after previous non-sporting events.
People have been here, converged here since Monday, even last weekend, to be here to familiarize themselves with the environment, and even at the stadium where we're going to have the program. So far so good. Everything has been fine. If you talk about security, I can assure you that we've deployed a lot of personnel to make sure that everybody is safe here. And so far so good. We haven't heard any negative news as it stands now. But we are making sure that everybody will feel comfortable here and to wait until we start a program.
Well, that's all we have for you on the Pulse.